In this episode of the Product Management Talk, Anand and Abhishek talk about why should someone choose to become a product manager, who can become a product manager, what it entails to be a product manager, and how one can become a product manager.
The Product Management Talk. Disclaimer: these videos, unless stated otherwise, are our own thoughts and ideas and do not reflect that of our company or third-party sources.
Hi guys, this is Anand.
Hey guys, this is Abhishek. So hey guys, last time we talked about what does product management entail. We touched upon a bit of the aspects of the key tools, the 5 Ws that a product manager needs to understand to help him in his day-to-day work. And then today we wanted to talk about who can become a product manager, right? So Anand and I have been discussing this for quite some time. And the way the world is changing, for some people, they come from different backgrounds, and product manager is probably a journey as they work. And some, with the exposure that product management is getting these days, probably join as a product manager out of their schools, right? So I think both Anand and I come from a different backgrounds. Anand comes from sales, I come from technical background, and we each have a very different story as to why we became a product manager and how that journey happened. So without further ado, let's kick this off. Anand, why don't you talk about your journey? You come from a sales background, you moved into product management. So let's start with the aspect of why you became a product manager. What was going through your head?
Right. So Abhishek, honestly, I did not know about product management when I was doing my master's in business. We knew about brand management at that point in time. There was a lot of talk about brand management in marketing. So for a good amount of time when I was working in IT and my career journey started with services IT company, I didn't even know about product management till I was working at Citrix and there I was working as a product specialist. And I chanced there to start interacting with product managers. And that got me interested because when I started talking to my PMs there, it was interesting because I saw that they were giving us a more technical perspective. A lot of things are not told when there is content that is created for a field and given it to them. And so you get to know a lot of nuts and bolts which were otherwise obscure to us. And I always had an inclination to move towards the technology side of things, knowing the business. So when I got interested in this kind of a role, I started looking out, and not within Citrix because there was no R&D in India at that point in time. And incidentally, I got an opportunity with one of the big storage companies in India. And that kick-started my career journey as a product manager. Now, that only talks about how things went about, but what is more important is as I moved into this role, I started understanding why I was keen in product management, which was not honestly apparent to me when I took this role. One of the key things that came to me and it struck me was that I wanted to be the person who created things rather than the person who takes up things and follows up with it. So one of the things that I believe is that inherently need to lead things was something that drove me to pick up a product management role. And from the perspective of my employers, I believe that the reason they took me as product managers, and I did go about asking them why did they pick me, because around 16, 17 years ago when I moved into product management, there were hardly any PMs in India. So it was something which was very new for the HR and the recruiting companies to pick up guys who were not PMs. There was no concept of PM at large. So what they told me was that they were looking for people who were customer focused, who understood customers, who could translate customer needs as clearly as possible and determine and understand the use cases that the engineering can then go and start building products on. So if you see, that's the way my product journey started. It's very different from what I have seen evolve in the last decade or so. Uh, Kids these days come very much aware about product management, and as Abhishek, you rightly said, some people are already aware as they go through their grads or post grads, and some who are already working, they figure it out as they start working. And I think Abhishek, both of us have figured it out, but I think I figured it out more as a job change, but you figured it out being in the job. So why don't you share your story as to what triggered you to move into product management?
Yeah. I think for me, product management was more of a natural progression. So let me give you a quick background as to why I'm saying that. I started my career as a quality assurance engineer. So grew in that role where, sort of my last stage as an engineer, I was more focused on working with sales support, doing proof of values, POCs, trainings on the product, right? So that's what I started finding more interesting, the whole outbound aspect, because it resonated a bit more with me as compared to doing the inbound stuff where you're just going and testing and writing test cases and executing it. And I found myself to be very good because I could see more and more salespeople coming and reaching out to me to help them out in their initial pre-sales discussions, in their POCs, etc. And my then boss actually was the key driver for me to look into product management. As an engineer, you work with product management, but in those days, I'm talking about in 2009, 2010, product managers are essentially based out of, US. So it's like everything happens over email. You probably talk to them once a year or twice a year. Um, my boss then started saying that, hey, Abhishek, you're doing really good interacting outside with the sales, why don't you look into the product management aspect? And to be honest, before that, it did not strike me at any point in time that there is a role of a product manager in India, right? So, and one of the things that he also mentioned at that point in time was that, and this is again, I'm talking about 2010, 2011, things have changed, is you need to probably get an MBA done, because MBA will help you understand a lot of things that is needed by a product manager. It will help you understand marketing. It will help you understand strategy, how project management. So these are the general tools that a product manager will need to ensure the delivery, the vision, the strategy of a product, right? So I went for my MBA. I came back, and then I essentially became the product manager for the same set of products I was working on in my then company before I left that place, right? So it's a sort of a natural progression, and this is something, Anand, you will see a lot of people doing, right? So a lot of people are actually switching from engineering to product management for the same set of products, because for them, they have the advantage of knowing the product in and out. So when they're talking to the partners, they can actually relate, okay, this is what needs to be done to support them. And they can also have the discussions as to about the product details, right? They also act as what you said, as a product specialist for that product. So that was a very natural transition. And when by the time I came back and joined, I found a lot of people actually having done that in my company. So that's how my journey started for product management. And initially, I started as a technical product manager, which is somewhere between a manager and a product specialist. So you support certain platforms, and then you start understanding. So for me, that was more of a grooming, mentoring, learning curve, where I started actually talking to the partners, not only just in India. We were a global company, so there were partners outside of India, where I started having discussions about the product strategy, the vision, building up the business cases. So I would say the first 1 year was a huge learning curve for me as to, the tools, but what does that knowledge and tool translate to as a product manager was what I learned in that 1 year. I had a lot of help. That was a good part, but my actual product management role as a outbound product manager, what we call it, started probably in a year or year and a half down the line, where I started acting as a product manager for a new product. And a couple of things that I had picked up, Anand, like you, I asked my boss, why he pulled me into that particular role. And one of the things he said, like, there are various things that a product manager needs to do. For me, it was more of, I was good at research. I was good at understanding the market. I was good at defining new solutions, creating a differentiation in the product. So that's where I added my value. And over the period of time, I find more often than not, I changed companies like twice or thrice after that. It was pretty much the same reasons that people hire me to go and fix and actually define the strategy for that product, so that you can increase market penetration, you can increase wallet share among the existing customers, and that's how it has been till now.
Uh, that's a great experience. So for both Abhishek and I, the kind of job we do keeps us excited every day to go there. And this comes to the most important question, which is why become a PM? So Abhishek and I have discussed, and something that gave me a kick was, when you have the desire to lead, you should become a PM. When you have the desire to go and research, you should become a PM. When you have the desire to find out what the market is doing, how to build a strategy for a product growth, you should be looking at PM roles. So the why of the PM, Abhishek, would be.
I think, Anand, let me put that in a different way. The thing that I like about product management is there is no way you can become complacent, right? There is no standard defined way. This is where we differ from any other things. Is there is no predefined template. Like, for example, if you're an engineer, you know what you're going to do every day, right? For me, every day when I wake up and check my emails, there are 5 different things that I have to manage, right? Which are absolutely not related, right? Something might be related to engineering, something might be related to marketing, something might be related to my partners. But at the core of it, there is the product that I define. So I know that I am the one who is defining the product. I'm the one who is building the vision and the strategy.
Yeah.
It gives you a certain sense of ownership that I mean, and it is my personal opinion, right? I did not find when I was working as an engineer.
So Abhishek, if I have to put it in one sentence, can I say we are the adrenaline junkie of the corporate world?
I agree completely. Yes.
Right. So
It can get exhausting though, but yeah, absolutely.
I mean, exhausting. Yeah, it would get exhausting. But the whole thing is, if you are in a job where you are not being pushed enough by your own standards, and you think you need real good adrenaline flow, do you think product management should be the way to go? And
Yeah.
the why should be there. And
Yeah.
that's the why.
I think, I would put it this way. If you want to work in an environment where is no predefined variables, there is no preset outcomes, product management is the way to go. And if you want to work where there is a fixed set of variables, you're working in a well-defined environment, I think any other role is good. But this, as I said, it's a functional role. There is nothing defined over here. You're responsible for everything and anything that has to do with the product. Now, what you want to do can be defined by you, but that's an open field, right? So you can, it's up to you to define how much you want to get involved.
Right. And if it comes to who can become a product manager, you guys have, we have already shared our mutual experiences. We come from very different, varied backgrounds. I come from sales. Abhishek comes from technology. But the common thread that ties who can become a product manager is that it is a path where you have to have a mix of both the business side of things and the technical side of things, without owning the delivery of each, but owning the outcome of each.
Nicely put, Anand.
Right? And that's very critical, because when you talk about what a PM does and why he's an adrenaline junkie, because when he jumps on a bungee rope, he has nothing to stop him from dying except for the bungee rope. So your bungee rope is the sales guy, your bungee rope is the engineer, and you have no control over him. But you have to still get to be sure that you have a perfect bungee jump. So that is what the PM job makes you really excited about every day when you go to office, every day when you wake up and you start doing the job. And that's the most important thing. So if you're looking for something like that, where you're driving the product, but you're not driving the delivery of the product, you're expecting other organizations who are there to deliver those aspects to deliver it with the right efficiency. You are coaching and driving it from the planning point of view, from the execution point of view, from the strategy point of view, but you're not actually executing it. And this is very, very important of what a PM job entails. And that's why it comes and it becomes very important that you play horizontal, but at the same time, you have deep vertical roots in. You need to understand how your sales works, how your field team engages, how your partners, if there's a partner network, how do they work, how your marketing engages, what kind of agencies they work with, who are the analysts they are working with, what the analysts are talking about, what your competition is doing, what your customers are doing. Because if you do not understand all those moving parts, then even if you are deep in technology, because that's the next route you need to be deep in technology, because if you're not deep in technology, you will not be able to translate that to your engineers. So the engineering needs to know the way engineer needs to know, the sales guy needs to know the way sales guys needs to know, and the PM is the conduit of doing it, right? So this is what a PM job is.
So Anand, we talked about a lot of our journey and our experiences. Let's move into how you can become a PM. So what are the things that you need to do to achieve that movement into a PM role?
Right. So Abhishek, when you talk about how, the how can be a fresher who wants to become a PM and someone who's already doing the job and wants to move into product role or product management role. So when we talk about a fresher who wants to move into product management, what I would suggest is they should go about taking some additional courses from some of the very qualified agencies like SVPG or the pragmatic marketing.
I think you put a lot of nice terms. So you know what? I think if I there is no predefined way to say and how. Right? My personal opinion is that there is no predefined certificates or anything that can tell you that you are now going to be an awesome product manager. What you can do is you can learn the tools to become a product manager. So you can we were talking about pragmatic marketing. We were talking about certain certifications which are focused on financial modeling. The place there where I did my MBA from, Cranfield School of Management, they had this lot of short-term courses which are focused on understanding marketing, understanding strategy, understanding business growth, and I'm pretty sure the tier one colleges, MBA colleges in India also have similar set of stuff. Understanding entrepreneurship is one of them. So what I would suggest is if you're not able to, because of your schedule or something, if you're not able to invest in getting an MBA done, I would strongly recommend that you go and get these certifications done. And this will help you understand how to think and what you need to think to become a good product manager. And then at the end of the day, as I said, it's actually up to the person to define what he wants to do as a product manager.
So, Abhishek, if I have to summarize how to become a product manager, what you and I have discussed is that doing a good MBA is one of the best things that you can do to become a product manager, because a product manager end of the day is a functional role. It is more of a role where you have to think through all of the aspects of a business, and that's why it is important that if you want to pick up some course that you want to look towards, if you're looking towards a product management role, MBA is one of the best things that you can do.
Absolutely correct.
Right?
Yep.
And then you can layer it up with very specific approaches and courses that are done by companies like SVPG, which is Silicon Valley, Product Group, or Pragmatic Marketing. Both are based in California, or from courses which are available online in Coursera, Udemy. You can have a look. There would be multiple of such online courses, or some of the premier schools, some of the premier MBA schools across the globe, which may be already providing some specialization in product management, layering up on top of MBA. But as Abhishek said, even if you go and take a specialized course in strategic management or design thinking or executive management, that should take care of most of the needs of curriculum that are needed for product management. I would just like to add one more additional point there. It also depends on your seniority in the organization. So if you're just starting up, then a full-time MBA would be a good way to go about, or at least a part-time MBA. If you are a senior executive, then you might want to do a very specialized month, 2 month, or a week course. There are small courses that you might want to look at, because all you're looking at is to polish the rough edges.
Absolutely agreed. So, Anand, let's some what we have talked about. Summarize what we have talked about in the. So we talked about our journeys into product management. We talked about who can become a product manager. I think people who are good communicators, people who can work in open variables. We talked about being adrenaline junkies, right? So people who are excited about working on 5 different problems at the same time, people who are enablers, people who are fixers, people who look forward to new challenges every day, people who are open to thinking outside of the box to find solutions, people who are looking at outbound aspects, talking, enabling sales, talking to customers, defining, understanding the unmet gaps, converting them, and taking it back to engineers and having that discussion in the language that they understand. So it spans cross functions, it spans cross departments, it definitely spans cross geographies, right? So a person like that can work through and become a really good product manager. As to how you become, what are the tools that you need, I think at the essence of it, I think you will see most product managers have got an MBA. So getting an MBA will actually help you in that direction. But if you are a very senior person, you understand the in and out of the whole operations sales aspect, I think maybe getting some certifications around like pragmatic marketing, something around business modeling, financial modeling, getting those basic tools that will help you understand better, will help you grow better as a product manager.
So that sums up our discussion.